there comes a time when you start seeing your relationship differently. Something changes long before actually anything does. Not in behavior, not in routine, but in perception. You are still in the same relationship, but you are no longer seeing it the same way. What once felt grounding begins to feel restrictive. What once felt stable starts to feel predictable. And it is easy to assume something is wrong, but often nothing new has happened. Something else has entered. A different emotional experience, a different connection, and with it, a different lens. The presence of someone else does not just add a new story, it quietly rewrites the existing one. You begin to notice things differently. Moments that once passed without weight meant nothing to you, now stay with you. A silence feels longer. A misunderstanding feels sharper. A distance feels more meaningful. At the same time, what is steady, what is consistent, what has always been there begins to fade into the background. Not because it disappeared, but because it is no longer what your attention is drawn to. It is no longer what you want to see. And that is everything. Because memory is not fixed. It is not a record of what happened. It is a reconstruction of what feels important now. So the past begins to rearrange itself. Not entirely falsely, but selectively. You start to feel like something has always been missing. Even if you never experienced it that way before, but now you do. And then comparison begins, quietly, almost automatically. But the comparison is uneven. One relationship exists in fragments of time, in conversations, in anticipation, in what is relayed to you, in presence without pressure. The other exists in full reality, shared responsibilities, daily routines, unfinished conversations, life as it is actually lived. And yet, they are placed side by side, compared, as if they are equal, as if they are the same. The new feels alive. The familiar feels predictable. The attention in one highlights the absence in other. And slowly, a shift takes place. The relationship you are in starts to feel like it is lacking. Not necessarily because it has changed, but because something else has changed in you. Small gaps become more visible, and once seen, they are hard to unsee. You return to them, again and again. And the more you return, the more they refine, the more they define how you see the relationship. Not the whole, but only the part that you are focused on, the part that you want to see. And what you are focused on begins to feel like the truth. Meanwhile, everything that still works becomes quieter, unseen. The shared language, the history, the ways you have learned each other, the quiet care that exists without being named. It is still there, but it no longer feels significant because it is familiar. Also, because you don't want to see it. What is familiar rarely feels exciting. This is where something important happens. The story you are telling yourself begins to shift, not as a lie, but as reorganization. If it feels this way, maybe it has always been this way. I didn't notice. Maybe this relationship was never enough. I never wanted it right at the beginning. It was thrust upon me. Maybe it is not a departure. Maybe it is a realization now dawning that this relationship was never worth it. And this story does something. It reduces conflict. Because if the relationship is already lacking, then what you are moving towards feels justified, necessary, and you don't fight it. All of this can happen before anything visibly changes. You are still there, still present, still participating, but something has moved. Your attention, your emotional energy, your curiosity. Conversations become lighter or quieter, not because you intend it, but because your investment has shifted. And your partner feels it. They may not understand it. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel the difference. Something is missing. Something is less. And confusion begins. Because nothing looks broken, but something feels different. And while this is happening, a cycle forms. The less you invest in the relationship, the less alive it feels. And the less alive it feels, the more you turn towards what does. And the more you turn away, the more the distance grows. Until what you are experiencing feels like confirmation that there is something missing. But a part of what is missing is something that you have already withdrawn. There are moments when this becomes visible. A pause, a realization. This is not how I used to see it. This is not the truth. And in those moments, there is clarity. But clarity does not always last. Because the mind returns to the version of the story that supports where you are going. To the version of the story where you want to go. So, what does it take to see clearly again? It is not about forcing yourself to feel differently. It is about stepping outside the comparison, seeing the relationship not against something else but on its own terms, seeing both what is missing and what is present, because both are true, but neither is the whole truth on its own. The relationship may have gaps, unmet needs, unspoken tensions. That part may be real, but the narrative often makes it absolute, as if that is all there is, but it is not. Because every long-time relationship carries complexity, not just limitations, but depth, not just predictability, but history, not just routine, but shared meaning. And the question becomes, what are you choosing to see? Because perception is not passive, it is active. It shapes experience, it shapes feeling, it shapes decision. When attention stays on absence, the relationship feels empty. When it includes what is present, something shifts. Not into perfection, but into reality. And without that, the rewriting continues. Quietly, convincingly, until decisions feel inevitable, even though they were shaped long before they were made.